Today on Making Horror, we discuss The Pumpkin Man Returns. Welcome to Making Horror. I'm your host, Ryan Sheets. Last week, I was back in Indiana. If you don't know, I moved to Florida within the past year, and I took a trip up for my sister's wedding. Woohoo! But while I was up there, we decided, why not shoot another Pumpkin Man movie, because we're gonna be making these until I'm dead. So we got in touch with Michael Kine, the owner of the Oregon Trail, who we showed on a previous episode of Making Horror, and we started rocking and rolling.
That's one of the Spice Girls. That's Pumpkin Spice.
Now, this film is the perfect example of how quickly you can make a short film, and that's actually what I want to talk about today, because this film was made in just 24 hours, and I'm not talking about just shooting. We shot, edited, and exported within 24 hours. Now let's start with shooting. We only had 4 hours to shoot the entire thing and had no chances for reshoots. It was just in those 4 hours. And it was even more stressful because we didn't have a script. We were completely flying blind and just kind of winging it, which isn't always a bad thing to do. When you have your idea in mind, it doesn't really matter if you have a script or not, just that you know what you want to say to your actors and where you want your camera to be placed. But it does put a little bit more pressure on the director because you are the only one who knows what you want, since the actors have never seen any source material and have no frame of reference. So you have to explain everything on that day, which can be kind of stressful. Now, when it comes to equipment, this film was the definition of run-and-gun filmmaking, and actually the equipment that we used really helped things just keep going. There's not a single lockdown shot in this film because we didn't have time to do that. We were setting up shots within 2 seconds of each other because we just had to keep the pace moving. We shot this on a Panasonic GH4, and that coupled with Vlog-L is just pure gold. And on top of that, we used a Rokinon 35mm cinema lens. Now, while all of that may sound pretty daunting, you can still get really good video with whatever you have. Don't think that you need expensive equipment like this. But aside from the camera and lens, everything else that we used was pretty much dirt cheap, comparatively speaking. For audio, we used the Rode VideoMic Pro, which in my opinion is the best budget microphone out there. For the cost, you really can't beat it. For lighting, we didn't have access to these bad boys, so instead we used a cheap lighting kit from Amazon, which actually worked surprisingly well. Jeff just picked it up really quickly because he knew that we needed lights, and I was actually impressed for the price. I mean, I think he spent maybe 30 or 40 bucks on them, and they got surprisingly bright and ran only on batteries, which was just wonderful because when you're shooting at an outdoor haunted house, you tend not to have a lot of outlets. But by far my favorite piece of equipment that we used during the shoot was a shoulder rig. Now you can pick one of these up on eBay for just 60 bucks, and for what this thing can do, it is definitely worth it. Now before the shoot, I had never shot with a shoulder rig before, and I was a little skeptical because I'm used to shooting with something like the DJI Ronin S, and then going to a shoulder rig that is only worth about 60 bucks, I was very hesitant because I thought that a lot of camera jitter would be introduced into my shots. But nope, not the case whatsoever. Actually, it really impressed me what this thing could do. I got some really cool shots that I didn't think I'd be able to get with canting the angle and stuff of that nature. Really looked cool, and if you don't have one of these, I would highly recommend this be the first stabilizer you get if you don't have the money for something like a Steadicam or a gimbal. Now, when it comes to this film, the location sold everything because it's a very interesting location. It's shot at a haunted house, and over the years, I've become very good friends with the owner, Michael Kine, who also plays Creepy the Clown. So because of that friendship, we kind of have the opportunity to shoot at the Oregon Trail whenever it's available to shoot at. However, don't be discouraged, and don't be afraid to ask your local haunted house if you can shoot there. In fact, I've just talked to 2 local haunted houses here in Florida, and they both agreed to let us shoot there because they will definitely want to showcase their haunted house. It's a lot better to show off your haunted house through a short film rather than an advertisement because you get a lot more atmosphere with a short film and a lot more time. So more likely than not, your local haunted house would love to let you shoot there. They might even lend a couple of actors. So now on to editing, and when we were done shooting, I started editing immediately, and we shot in 4 hours, and I edited the whole thing in 6. So again, there's only 10 hours of production time, and we had a couple of other things that we had to do in between then, But again, this was completed in just 24 hours. Now, I use Premiere to edit, and it can be pretty expensive, but again, there's millions of options out there for you, like the free version of HitFilm. It's an incredible software that I'm surprised is free, but it is. So go check that out. It's a great option for people who are trying to keep things on the lower budget. So this film is proof that you can make a really quality film in just 24 hours. I mean, I had no plan going into this other than just a girl getting chased around a haunted house, and it turned out to be something pretty awesome. So don't be discouraged. Like I said in my budget filmmaking episode, you can use pretty much anything you have at your disposal. It's just how you use it. So go out, try to make a short film in 24 hours, and until next time, try not to get scared. We only had 4 hours to shoot this, and that is the shit.